The modern age is here. It's 1939. The next decade looms, ripe for exploitation. Mayhem and chaos are erupting all over the globe. Much of the world will burn. That I have embraced and prepared for. Our time has come. Today on the Comic Book Report, The Batman, First Night, by Dan Jurgens, Mike Perkins, and Mike Spicer from DC Comics Black Label. Stick around and check it out. Greetings from Gotham, everyone. My name is Dominic, and today you're tuning in to the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. And today I am excited to finally jump back into the world of Batman, one of my absolute favorite superheroes. This is a collection that a lot of you have recommended to me in the comments, and as you may or may not know, I am a fan of these larger DC Black Label hardcovers, and this is certainly a miniseries I wanted to read. As I mentioned at the top of the video, of course we are talking about The Batman First Night, which is a Batman, not origin retelling, but an early Batman story set in 1939. This is of course outside of the mainstream continuity, but wow, was this a real fun ride. Now, before I begin my review in earnest, I would like to shout out the channel's sponsor, Panel Bound Comics. If you're looking to pick up your own comic book collected editions, perhaps this Batman book here, I always encourage you to check out their website. You can find a link to them in the video description, and if you see anything site-wide that you like, you can actually use my discount code at checkout, TheComicBookReport, to save $2 off of your order. Please note if you use my affiliate link or code to make a purchase, I will earn a small commission, but it's one of the best ways you can continue to support this channel. Thank you as always for considering. Now let's get started with today's Batman review. First, some quick facts about today's collection. The issues in this volume were written by Dan Jurgens, with art by Mike Perkins. The issues themselves in this volume were published by DC Comics Black Label beginning in 2024. As far as what this volume includes, it collects The Batman, First Night, issues 1 through 3. And finally, this is an oversized hardcover edition with glossy print paper stock, what appears to be a glue binding, perhaps sewn and glued, a little hard to tell, and a total of 160 pages. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and issue a general spoiler warning. I will be flipping through the contents of today's collection and commenting on plot points throughout. You've been advised. I'd also like to issue a general mature content warning. This story includes sequences of violence, blood, and one sequence of sexuality and partial nudity. I have tried to cut around that scene, but reader discretion is advised. Okay, and here's our first dedicated look at the front dust jacket cover for today's release, and right from the top, I absolutely love it. From the font choices for the title that kind of evoke this sort of Art Deco sensibility, I just think it's really striking. I also like that the cover has a field of kind of white or off-white. I think it's really just something new for a Batman title. I'm used to so many dark, gritty colors gracing the fronts of my Batman books, so to have kind of a white or cream like this, it's just really striking. The spine of the dust jacket as well looks similarly beautiful. We have that same color as the background field. Then we have some stylized font here for The Batman. Notice the hyphen, First Night, the last names of the creators, and of course the DC Comics logo at the bottom. And it looks like my copy was published before they converted over to the new DC Bullet logo. Just worth noting. On the back cover of today's dust jacket, we have this beautiful ornate image of Batman and some of those decaying goons we have on the back there. Again, just really a nice sampling of some of the art you can expect in the book. We have some reviews of the collection, a blurb about the piece, we have pricing information, things like that. All pretty standard fare for the back cover of a dust jacket, but I have to admit, I really love it and I like the art they chose here. Again, I think the art is a huge selling point, and I just love that we got to see so much of it on the dust jacket. And speaking of the art and that dust jacket, let's spend one final moment on this book's exteriors. This time I will remove the dust jacket so you can see it all at a glance. This time I will also show you those interior flaps, which in this case just give us bonus artwork and a brief section of text, maybe a quotation. I overall really like this dust jacket design. I think front and back covers in particular are really striking, and I just wanted to give you a good look at the entire thing. After that, we will of course segue to the hardback book itself, and what we have here on the front cover of the hardback is a cover that seems to scream kind of pulp novel, kind of serialized, like novel format, basically. I really love it. It has this kind of painted look. It looks very vintage and old school, definitely to period, which I liked. The spine of the book has some of the same retained information from the dust jacket spine, and the back cover just has this really cool stylized image of Batman. Of course, seeing it all at a glance is nice, and again, that was just one final look at the exteriors. And now for all you prospective collectors out there, let's take a quick look at this book's binding. So I do see a hefty amount of glue. Is this perhaps also a sewn binding? I think that that's possible, but with all the glue, I'm going to say it leans more to glued binding. All that being said, I was really happy with the binding. The book laid down okay, and I don't think these pages are going anywhere. Gutter loss was extremely minimal, especially with a collection this size, but you'll get to see more as I flip through. But for now, let's go ahead and do a quick side-by-side with another DC Comics Black Label Batman book I've read and reviewed recently on the channel. This is Batman City of Madness. Earlier in this video, when I talked about enjoying these Batman books in this format from Black Label, this is the kind of release I've been talking about. There's been a number of these books that are these kind of boxy, oversized format from Black Label, and another handful of them that are all Batman titles. If you didn't see my coverage of Batman City of Madness and you're interested, definitely take a look at it. I'll try to link that video as I did review it recently on the channel. Now, what do I mean when I call this book an oversized format? Well, for me, a standard size is roughly the trim size or dimension of a single issue comic or trade paperback, or in this case, standard size hardcover. To showcase the comparison here, I do have my copy of Batman Earth 1, Volume 1 by the great Jeff Jones and Gary Frank. Another title I reviewed a while ago on the channel, a really fun remix, reimagining of the origin of Batman. But for the case of this video, again, I just wanted to do a side-by-side to give you a sense of scale, so you can see that this hardcover is not only taller but wider than standard collections. It's a great way to showcase more art-centric books, of which I would consider Batman First Knight. Although, of course, as I'll get into, the story is quite riveting as well. Okay, and now that we've finished out those size comparisons, let's go ahead and transition to today's book. And after we get past that beautiful cover once again, we have some really amazing end pages on this collection that showcase kind of newspaper headlines, which I really liked. Again, it spoke to period. After that, we have a title page. We have a 2-page creator breakdown page. Again, also stylized with kind of newspaper printings, which I loved. Then we have a publication information page and the issue cover for issue 1 of this little mini-series. After that, we have another little art page, and then we jump right into the first page of issue 1. So as I mentioned earlier in this video, this is a 3-issue comic. Don't worry though, the issues are oversized, and I don't just mean in the scale of the pages, but also the page count. So like I said earlier, the whole run of this 3-issue book is a total of 160 pages, including front matter and some of the extras at the back. Now, what is the Batman First Knight? Well, I am so glad you asked. Let me go ahead and set a general context for the storyline here. So this is a reimagining of Batman that's set in 1939 when Batman was initially published, and I love this because it harkens back to the period where Batman was created. There is definitely some borrowed character modeling based on the first Batman incarnation back in that original Detective Comics issue. I'm talking Batman with the long pointed ears. I love that we're back in this period, but we are looking at it through nostalgic glasses with a lot more modernized sensibilities and writing styles, and that is just really fun for me. Here we have a really character-rich and layered world. We have Batman at the backdrop of 1939. Again, this is a period where we just got out of the First World War, but we're headed towards another. This is a time of great instability and global politics at a time of just great tension, and I really liked this framework. We're also having America emerging from a depression, of course, the greatest depression we've seen as a nation, and yeah, this is just a really fun framework to insert a modern Batman reimagining. Something I like about this book too is even though we're calling it First Night, this doesn't feel like a retread or Batman origin retelling for the millionth time. No, this is just a really fun crime thriller that happens to star a caped vigilante. I should say this is early in the crime fighter's career, and it has this feeling of kind of almost like old Hollywood vintage. Again, the Art Deco, just gritty, grimy 1930s. I loved it. I really thought that this was a striking piece, and I will say I enjoyed it for the art first. The character models for Batman, Gotham in general, the supporting cast of characters, and these zombie-like villains, more on them in a minute, I just was really sold. It was immersive, in many ways groundbreaking for me. I've always been a kind of decent fan of Dan Jurgens. I haven't read a ton of his bibliography, but I have recalled enjoying a lot of the stuff I have read, and this is definitely amongst them. Our story begins around the time that we basically have an increase in really violent kinds of murders around Gotham. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, this is a kind of more violent, gritty, darker, and bloody work. So if you are a bit, sensitized to that kind of material, again, reader discretion advised. But basically, after these grisly murders, Batman begins to investigate, and he starts showing up more. At this time, he's still this elusive figure that the general public is extremely skeptical and wary of, and you get this feeling that this is really early on in his career. The people don't know what to make of him, and they're almost as scared of him as they are of some of these other larger villainous threats. We have Batman going head to head with these kind of zombie-like creatures. Are they undead? They seem to be decaying. They're definitely pretty nasty looking, and Batman's trying to figure out what's happening, how these creatures exist, if he can find an antidote to see if he can help them or inoculate himself from whatever seems to be happening to these individuals. We have Batman, again, coming across these kind of organized crime or villainous figures. We have a group of people that collectively are known as the Voice that seem to be behind a lot of the chaos and drama ensuing in Gotham. They might be pulling the strings, and what are their implications to a larger global conflict? I don't know. You'll have to find that as we make our way through the series. But yeah, again, I just really enjoyed this. There are some really just incredible, grim, dark, broody moments. This feels like a real crime noir, and I mean that in the most complimentary sense. There's so many trappings of that subgenre of fiction, and I, for one, enjoyed those facets of this work. We also have Bruce Wayne, when he's not in the cape and cowl, coming across these kind of Hollywood figures, a actress and some kind of producer or some kind. They come around Wayne Manor and try to make nice to see if Wayne will be a benefactor for them. And this was a fun subplot as well. Again, this harkens back to me to like that golden age of Hollywood or filmmaking, so I like that this was included. It also gave us kind of a love interest for Bruce Wayne. We actually have, over the course of this graphic novel, this young actress discovering who he is, and there is an intimate scene. Again, there is partial nudity here, and that scene of sexuality. It is pretty obscure and in the shadows, but it is there for those that, again, kind of like myself, try to avoid that. I am happy we don't have any explicit or outright nudity, but again, there's moments like that I just wanted to mention. This, again, though, has so many other fantastic scenes. I think the action sequences, car chases, everything is just so dialed in. We even have a really intense sequence where Batman is strapped to an electric chair. Again, a lot of memorable moments and set pieces throughout this work. We also have his first meetings with Gordon, which I liked. Again, I like this period where the public is skeptical of him, and he's trying to build these working relationships in a city that is kind of initially rejecting him. I like how this book also begins to set him apart from the other kind of villains in Gotham. Like, yes, he is a hero, even though he's dressed scary and does violent things like the criminals. He is on the side of right. And I think that you see him established more as a protector of Gotham by the resolution of this story, and I did like that as well. I like how grounded and in some ways realistic this story felt, even in the midst of having a Batman and having these kind of zombie creatures. It still felt very, very grounded, and I was frankly impressed by that. I also thought that this was key because this is also a Batman without his Bat family of support. I think other than Commissioner Gordon, we don't really have a lot of the Bat family, if any, represented here. We don't have any Robins. I don't even recall having much appearances from Alfred here. We did have a kind rabbi who gives him kind of shelter, and I really liked that figure in this book. I thought that that was a really cool addition and character to employ here. But yeah, overall, a really striking piece. I love how Batman ultimately saves the day, and overall, it was really well paced and character driven. I liked seeing Batman emerge in this dark and gritty atmosphere and this ever corrupting society around him. He's trying to fight for right, and overall, again, a memorable piece here. At the back of the collection, we do have some extras in the form of a cover art gallery, which I love to see presented in this oversized format. And that really is going to wrap up my review of The Batman First Night from DC Comics Black Label. Again, I had a lot of fun with this one. I didn't really know what to expect, but what a ride. Now all that's left to do is to give this book a grade. For this gorgeous period piece crime drama, the Comic Book Report is happy to give The Batman First Night by Dan Jurgens, Mike Perkins, and Mike Spicer from DC Comics Black Label an A-. This was a well above average read for me, particularly as a Batman fan. Setting the Dark Knight back against the cultural backdrop in which he was created was a masterstroke, and in Dan Jurgens' seasoned hands, this was definitely a memorable ride. I love the way the artist captured the spirit of Gotham, even in a displaced time period from our normal present day storytelling. I like that Batman was kind of a lone adventurer here in many ways, but how he was still surrounded by a supporting cast of characters I thought was quite brilliant. The villains across this were insidious and certainly scary in their own right, and while this is geared towards more mature readers, I certainly enjoyed it. I am really a fan of what DC Black Label has been doing with a lot of these releases, and I was happy to add this one to my reading list. But let me know what you think of The Batman First Night. Have you given it a read? Are you curious to now? Let me know all about it in the comments section below, along with any other Dan Jurgens reading recommendations or some other DC Black Label recommendations. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, this has been the Comic Book Report. Please don't forget to leave your like and those comments we talked about, and maybe check out another video on your way out. Thanks everyone, and have a good one.